So I'll now present the first experience, and the first experience will be by Barbara Girardi from the Stepping project, and she will be so Barbara is a biologist and a journalist, and after dealing with waste management planning for the province of Turin since 2003, she has been following several European projects on the theme of energy efficiency. Since 2006, she has been working in the energy development sustainability sector in the Piedmont region. As part of the project Stepping included, she deals in particular with all aspects related to communication and dissemination activities, the organization of workshops and events, and the writing of reports and new projects. So now, Barbara, thank you very much for your participation. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Paolo. I will try to share my screen now. Okay, is it okay? You can see my presentation?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank the MED program for inviting Stepping project to share its experience in this seminar. Just a quick view at the Stepping project. We were 9 partners coming from 7 European countries, Portugal, Spain, France, Italy, Slovenia, Greece, and Malta, and all committed in testing and transferring an innovative financial instrument, which are the energy performance contracts. We will call them APC, that are useful for the refurbishment, energy refurbishment of public buildings. So the project had to deliver 8 APC investment plans involving more than 60 local authorities for procurement tenders for awarding energy efficiency works in public buildings, so mainly in school, and of course transferring the results and engage the largest audience with dissemination and training activities. These are the main key performance indicator that the project had as results at the end. So 70 municipalities were involved and 16 investment plan draft, and we were able to launch 3 APC tenders during the project and 3 after the end of the project. And well, totally, the partner were able to organize directly 28 events in order to spread the project. Okay, so coming to the press campaign, why we thought that we need a press campaign. First of all, thinking to our project goal that was to increase public building energy efficiency with an innovative financial instrument that were the APC. So what we needed to raise awareness about this new instrument, to engage our target groups, and of course to communicate. And what we offered opportunities for local authorities, for municipalities, because no money is needed with APC to refurbish their buildings. So this is really important for them. And then we also offered opportunities for the energy market as we were creating investment. So we thought that Stepping had a story and some keywords as energy and money saving, economic investment, tenders, local job creation, which we thought that were newsworthy and appealing for journalists. Then coming to our target groups, which were mainly local administration, energy consultant, energy companies, and the general publics, because we were working on public building and mainly school, as I say. And for reaching local authorities and general public at the local level, we have local newspaper, TV, radio, which are interested in news at the territorial level and are easier to reach compared to the national ones. Then for reaching what we call the technicians, the consultants, and the energy companies, we can rely mainly on specialized web magazine and websites. And in the energy topics, there are really many of them. And finally, our audience is not always so social, especially regarding issues that are related to so technical and professional information. So how we developed the campaign, first of all, by building a communication team within the partnership. Each partner has appointed a referent that was working with the communication group leader. So we built an internal communication net. Each partner was spreading news in its territory, but the VP leader and the lead partner were always supervising what they were doing. All partners already had good media relations because, okay, we were lucky. They were all expert in European projects, so dealing with European project since a long time. So they have already, they are used to launch a press release and to follow journalists. And we also had some excellencies like Piemonte region and the province of Huelva or the province of Modena, which are very big administrations, and they have all their internal communication departments. So stepping had no need to have external support. To reach this mix of newspaper and magazine and so TV, radio, and whatever, we mainly used press releases that were written or by partner, by each partner, if they were at local or regional level, or even written by the communication group leader when we had some project activities with a European relevance, but also by our stakeholders. For example, when we made some agreements with the municipalities, so we pushed them to launch press release with their own media, and so the project is involved anyway in the press release and the contact with the journalists. Then we also produced a newsletter, which were sent also to journalists in all the partner languages, and a video. We made a very short and easy to understand using Powtoon video. It was 1 minute, 1 minute and a half to explain what is an EPC and how you use it. And we sent it together with the press release or to the journalist or together with the newsletter because it was really easy to understand the concept of the EPC in this way. The launch of the press release were as widely as possible with the maximum coverage. As I told you, we had this big administration, so We had very large number of media involved. And then each partner monitored the related articles that were published after the press release and reported it in a common file, an Excel file in Drive, as well as all the other communication indicator I will show you. And then they tried to establish a direct contact with the magazine or the journalist who published the article in order to establish a relation of reliability with them. So this is how it looks, our communication evaluation tool. I have highlighted only the press release and the press article number that we reached at the end of the project. This is the summary sheet, but we had a sheet for each partner where they reported all the indicator, all the communication indicator. So at the end, we were able to draft 33 press release totally. And we had a number of article of 122 and 1,500 media that were reached by our press release or newsletter or all the instrument that we use. So here is when we launched the press release, of course, whenever needed, but especially at the beginning of the project, because we needed to communicate project objectives and to engage especially local administrators. Then when we organized or participated to some important events, when we organized training courses and we needed to engage the technician, when we had the investment plans completed, and of course, when we launched the tenders and need to get the energy companies involved. And at the end of the project to spread the results we got. Here, I wrote some tips. First of all, don't be shy. The lead partner of the project and the communication leader were constantly monitoring and pressing partner because, okay, often communication is left aside. Partner have a lot of technical tasks to follow. And sometimes, or let's say often they forget to communicate. Then, of course, you have to constantly monitor also your press results and sometimes press and push the journalist to write about your project. Then the networking activity was very important for our project. We participated to 40 events organized by other projects or other institutions. And they were launching a press release. So stepping was quoted in their press release. So, and this was always a way to be noticed. Then be opportunist, grab all the opportunities you have around you. Maybe you can organize your event in the framework of a bigger one, a national one, or maybe even a European one, and you will catch their journalists. I will show an example after. And very important, I think, is don't forget to create all the synergies that you can. For example, with MED program, we were under the energy efficiency building community, and with all the other MED projects that are dealing with similar subjects. Stepping, for example, organized its final conference back to back with the MED final conference. Okay, so we had a resonance also on the MED media. Then with your target group, as I said, when you, for example, when you sign an agreement, you can invite journalists and launch a press release. And when you participate to fairs or exhibition, never forget the journalists maybe are around, so you can get in touch with them and explain them your project. And also with all the social networks, your project ones or your institution, even your personal ones, because okay, journalists are on social also, and so you can put link to articles about your project, or as we saw in the Olivier example, to your website and so on. And so, well, at the end, you know, the more you make noise, the more you get noticed. And of course, this works very well with journalists. So here is an example. We organized at Piemonte region a stepping event, which was a local event, but was organized as an energy day during the European Sustainable Energy Week. So we had a European audience and more resonance in the press and even on TV. So here you can see our project manager while was giving an interview to a local TV that came to the event. Well, finally, I think you have always to aim high, have high hopes, and maybe you can get higher results. Here you can see two examples of what we have done in another Interreg Central Europe project, which is called Prospect 2030. And we succeeded in have a presentation of the project during an Italian national TV program, which has 4 million people of audience in that moment. And so I think this was really a big chance for the project to be spread out. And also we organized an event together with other 2 projects at the European Week of Regions and Cities. And also in this way, we had a great resonance in the press, and we got an audience at the European level. So if you ask me if the press campaign, is it really worth it? I would definitely say yes, because you can reach your target groups, and well, it's free of charge. Let's say what we did during stepping, it was completely free of charge, even if it meant a lot of work. And I think that you still can get more reliability with the press campaign, and if you are able to personally and directly engage the media and the journalists. So that's all from my side. Thanks everybody for listening, and okay, I'm available for questions, of course.
Thank you very much, Barbara, and for this very impressive practice that you've shown to us. I think one of the lessons drawn from your experience is really that you grabbed the opportunities and you involved your networks in order to have a greater impact in your strategy. So, as Olivier said, you put your soldiers, your cavalry, working on the ground. I would just have one question just before going into the next presentation. What kind of difficulties did you hear from the ground in dealing with journalists? Were there any difficulties at all that you could mention, just 1 or 2?
Well, Not really difficult. As you know, what is difficult is, I think you have to really be in contact with a large number of media, and then you will get at least the 10%, if you're lucky, of response. So that's why I wrote to make more noise you, you can, the more noise you can, because you don't have to think that everyone is going to take your press release in account and use it and write an article. And so just spread it as large as you can to have some feedback.
Well, it is really impressive, and the lesson really is really how did you involve all the partners in the project in this action, this activity? Well, thank you very much, Barbara. Please stay with us for the Q&A session in the end of the free presentations.
Thank you.
So now I'll go to ask for Konstantinos Zapounidis from the Emblematic project to start. Kostas Zapounidis is working with European co-finance projects for almost 20 years, and is also an invited lecturer in Greek universities in the fields of human resources management, public procurement, and risk management. His civil engineering background, his postgraduate studies in project management, along with the experience acquired, has led to an expertise in managing coordination and communication actions of projects and programs. In the Emblematic project, he led the challenging communication work package. So please, Kostas, are you ready to take the floor?
Yes. Good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Paolo and GS in general for inviting us in this session. So I'm going to focus in. You can see my screen. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to focus especially in one of our actions, one of our activities on our Emblematic project, which was related to the press trips and kits. I just want to make a quick introduction about the Emblematic project. As you can see, the full title, Emblematic, was about Mediterranean mountains as coastal destinations of excellence. So we were talking about sustainable tourism in specific mountains near by the Mediterranean Sea. What was very important for us, it was to knew from the beginning what was the aim related to our communication actions, and especially to the press trip and kits. So what was the need for a press campaign? Firstly, as part of our external communication, we had the need for promoting emblematic concrete outputs. And we are talking about 9 emblematic eco-itineraries in 9 different mountains around the Mediterranean Sea, but outputs that had the same characteristics and the same attributes. So firstly, we had the need to promote these outputs to the tourism industry, to the relevant stakeholders, and what was most important, to the potential visitors. And this was mainly creating the need of a press campaign. And secondly, the press campaign was foreseen to disseminate our results to local authorities, to external network sharing common issues, and more importantly, to potential to networks that potentially could promote our products, and this could be done through the press networks and the press industry. So if we go to our objective in connection to the project objectives, we have initially planned to develop a communication tool to reach out the emblematic final target groups. And for the press sector, these target groups were the citizens and the potential tourists visiting the specific areas. And the press trips and kits were a vehicle to achieve this specific objective. Now, if we go more in detail to the emblematic media approach, we have a full deliverable dedicated to this, and this was called the press trip and kits. All partners have prepared a media kit regarding their eco itinerary. So this was a product, the eco itinerary for each one of the 9 mountains, and this media kit was based on actual needs. Some partners had the option and used only what was prepared by the project, and the project has prepared different deliverables, videos, tourism guides, tourist maps, posters, and posters related to these products. One partner by country mobilized a press agency or other professionals to promote the touristic products to the specialized media and to organize the press trips. The action included 1 or 2 media trips with 2 or 3 generalists based on the actual prices in each involved country, because we have a predefined budget, so we have to stay within the limits of the budget. And we were talking about 2 or 3 journalists, or it could be either a journalist plus a photographer, or plus a specialist in one of the sectors that our products were related to. For example, cuisine or architecture. The action covered the organization of the press media trips and the relevant press releases, along with the contact to the media. Moreover, a part of these media trips, each itinerary had a dedicated budget to cover a press or more press inserts and press releases for the promotion of the eco itineraries in specialized magazines. And ourselves, as a coordinator of the work package, we have a common insert to promote our products. So in detail, just want to summarize, we have one item which was an operation of all partners, and it was a dedicated budget to cover the cost of a press insert in specialized magazines. It could be either printed or electronic magazines. The second item was operation for one partner per country. These partners were responsible to organize the press trips covering both mountains for each country. So just to inform you that there were 2 mountains participating in the emblematic projects per country, from Italy, from Spain, from Greece, from France, and 1 from Albania. And each partner from one country has the activity dedicated to mobilize the journalists and these trips. And finally, we have at a project communication level an operation that is an item of one common insert. What was very important, and I'm going just to explain the good practices of these 3 items, was to select the successful media coverage. Our Spanish partner, the development agency of Bergueda in Catalonia, has focused on specific markets. So they have decided that according to the real needs, geographically, they have to focus in the German market. And what was also more important is that they were not focusing only the tourist market, but also they used wider media, for example, newspapers of a specific German market, or focused media, for example, architecture or way of living websites, and journalists that were focusing in these 2 specific fields. So you can see here some examples. One journalist visit from the München architecture website, where finally the press release was related to the architecture part of the eco itinerary, or the way of living magazine, web magazine. So this was focused mainly on the way of living in the area of the eco itinerary. But it was not only about seeing, so we have excessive articles related to the eco itineraries of our Spanish partner, in focusing again in the German market. Another partner, our Italian partner, the Gran Sasso Velino, has focused also in a geographical market, and this was a UK market. And they wanted to spread widely the product, so they went to the newspaper of, if I remember well, it was an independent newspaper and the web format. But was also what was mostly important, it was the fact that they were using the social media during preparation. So when they were the journalists were visiting the areas, the social media were very active. These were the posts from the photographer that took part in the trip. So this was during the preparation, during the visit, during the press trip. If we go now to item 1 and 3, if you remember item 1 and 3, item 1 is a press insert from each partner, and item 3 was a press insert at the project level. Our project example is focusing also in an outside market from the partners, and this was a German one. What was very important, it was that what we have achieved was a result of the participation to tourism fairs, and this was another deliverable that we used for testing and promoting our products. And since we visit a very dedicated tourism fair for hiking in Germany, and we have an event there, then a German hiking magazine has approached us in very interested on what we were doing. So this, and finally we selected this magazine in order to promote the results and the product. So there was a continuity between the communication actions and within the communication strategy and plan of the project. And it is very important, if we use a common media from all partners, this could maximize the success. And what was this example? This was a special edition of this hiking magazine with 22 trips, hiking trips, and 6 of them was those that were produced by our project. So we have a common insert about the project and where exactly our mountains are lying around the Mediterranean Sea. And then we have one page that has a similar layout for one out of the 6 mountains that participated in this part of the press campaign. You can see the different mountains from Greece, from Italy, Etna, from Creta. And this was finally defined to be a very successful layout. This was used also from our Albanian partner. They have selected not to go to this dedicated market, the German market and the hiking society. They went to the Albanian Airlines magazines in order to have their input. And we have also some geographically dedicated means. For example, our Spanish partner has connections and inputs in specific magazines related to the Pyrenees Mountains. So since they are a part of this mountainous massive, they selected magazine dedicated to this mountain massive in order to promote their products. So a lot of examples, as you have seen, a lot of examples from magazines and from the press trips and the press releases. So I would like to sum up with some points of interest. The press release is produced by the media selected or by the journalists. So although in the beginning we have some budget dedicated in order to produce the layout, finally the layouts were produced by the media, by the magazines, or by the journalists themselves. So it was like proved to be difficult to provide a pre-dedicated layout, since the magazines have their own creative department. So this money that was dedicated to this part was finally not used. The media monitoring, this was done by the partner responsible for the communication actions, and this was done by reporting. So we have a very extended report in the end of the project with all the actions about press trips and kits recorded. Now, regarding the results of the promotion, usually these results are midterm. So maybe it's a bit soon to define the level of success. But what is very important is that you promote a product, but you have to be very organized at local level, where all the relevant information should be gathered and offered to the potential visitor. It would be the website, would be in a tourism office, or to the local enterprises. Because if you are not organized, then the success is not guaranteed. It's not going only to the media, but being organized also at local level. And finally, some tips. It's very good. It's very important to dedicate your press actions to a specific market geographically. This is what most of the partners have done in our project, depending on what was the target group. So it could be either German market, or it could be, for example, internal market, as it was done for our French partners. It's very important to focus on a specific target group, for example, hikers, and not to be very general and approach general audience. It is also, it was very successful in our case to split the actions items to more than one partner. So more partners were dedicated to actions related to press trips and kits. It was very important to correlate the press trips and kits to other communication actions and deliverables. As I told you, for example, the press inserts was a result of participating in tourism fairs. What is also very important and helps supports a successful outcome of press, especially the press trips, is to involve the local stakeholders. If you don't use the local stakeholders during the press visits, then the journalist could not have special, cannot have dedicated opinion on how these products are operating on field. Of course, you have to be flexible. The same country partners may have different views on how to attract media. Other can use press agencies, other can go directly to the media. This is something that took a lot of discussions during our project meetings, the difference of using the press agency or going directly to the media that you have pre-selected. In this case, it may be more rational each partner to organize their own press campaign under the project's umbrella. So under the project media and press kit, to organize their own campaign related to the market they want to focus, the target groups, and which professionals to use in order to finalize a successful press press trips and kits for the project outputs. That's all from my side. I would be available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Kostas. Can you see me? Because I'm seeing myself frozen on the screen.
Yeah, I can see you. Yes, no problem.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
thank you very much, Kostas, for this example, which was really a very, very interesting example, especially because the organization part of it is really impressive, and how you dealt with the entire organization with the partners on the ground, and the flexibility and the preparation of all the materials as well. We could notice that it seems like more marketing driven in terms of information campaign, less so compared with the previous example. But so you also addressed the German market, for example. This is extremely interesting. I would like to know, it seems also that you used more sponsorized content and less organic content, less unpaid content. So would you say that, for example, if you had used more organic content, the impact of the actions would increase or would decrease?
Can you define organic a little?
Organic is not sponsorized content. It's really as the example we had previously.
Well, the content we used was, as we have understood, mainly decided by each partner. So they exactly knew what they had to promote for their own area and for their own product. So it was quite a long discussions of which kind of content we could select. Uh, our point of view, talking at the project level, is that the selected content we have managed to maximize our impact on the media market. This is our point of view.
Very well. Thank you very much, Kostas, for your example. Please stay with us in order to reply to any questions in the Q&A session that follows this last presentation from Anne Remy. Are you online, Anne? Are you connected?
Hello, I'm here.
Hello.
Hello,
Okay.
hello everybody.
Hello, Anne. Good morning. So just let me to introduce you first, and then I'll give you the floor. So Anne is based in Rome, Italy, and she serves as Director of Communications for WWF Mediterranean. And Anne has more than 20 years of experience in communications in general and over 15 years in environmental communications. Her current duties include the development and implementation of WWF communication strategies across the Mediterranean region. And Anne has led the communications component of the Fish MPA Blue 2 project over the last years. So please, Anne, I'll give you the floor without further ado.
Okay, so hello everybody. I'm going to talk about a project which happened in the Mediterranean. And we are going to talk about small-scale fishers and marine protected areas, and how with media relations we managed to make the project more successful. So I begin with this beautiful picture of small-scale fishers boat in the Mediterranean to inspire you and to put you in the atmosphere, because this was really the atmosphere of the project and of the media relations we built. So I'm going to, sorry, because I can't see my screen well. Okay, I hope you see me the same. So
no, it's perfectly displayed. We can see it fully.
Okay, so the project, I thought that it was important for you to know a little bit about the topic to understand better than when we talk about media relations, because we built the media relations really to make them very adequate for this project. So this was a project. I will try to hurry a little bit because I think we are late, and so that I can focus on the more important ideas at the end of the presentation. And so if I think about what I would like you to remember about the project, I would say that this was a project about a partnership, a collaboration that we wanted to build between the small-scale fishers and the marine protected areas in the Mediterranean. Why that? Because we really wanted to work in the field to create more sustainable models, and we wanted them to build these models really together. And the second big objective was to improve the policies in the Mediterranean regarding small-scale fisheries and MPAs. So the MPAs were major actors in the communications, but also the fishers, and we used always this combination as a partnership, which is going to change what's happening in the Mediterranean. So our objectives, I mean, the three top priority objectives for us were to reach our target audiences through media relations. I mean, it seems stupid said like that, but I think that if you really want to get into media relations, you have to ask yourself first this question: is it the best tool to reach your target audience? Is it going to work? Are you going to make it? And maybe there is a tool that can do it better. And at the end, if you think that really it's worth the try, then you can think about how you can really develop this tool. We wanted to raise the awareness about the project objectives and results. This is also very basic, but we also thought that it was important to raise their awareness about the project issues. Because the project was pretty technical, and we didn't want to. We knew that we wouldn't reach the media with very technical contents, and so we wanted to convince these priority target groups, the fishermen, the MPA managers, to adopt sustainable practices, but also we needed to talk to policymakers to change policies, which was a harder objective. So we also thought, when we were building the communication strategy, that we had long-term objectives also for media relations, that we wanted to widen these objectives. And we thought that it could be a massive opportunity to educate media about fisheries and marine protected areas topics, and make them interested and able to cover these topics on the long run, even after the project. The same, we thought that we could raise the profile of the MPAs as benefits generators and small-scale fishers as capable to produce sustainability models, because this is not really known. We thought that we could inspire people with our stories about sustainability, to set examples for others to follow, and not only communicate on the project objectives and results. And also, by media relations, you can also support the recognition of your project and Interreg after the end of the project. So I can't, okay, I'm hiding this, okay, because otherwise I can't read my, wait. Okay, you can see me still?
Yes,
Yeah,
perfectly.
okay. So then we had difficult choices to make, and we thought that it would be very difficult to reach media with very technical content about fisheries management and MPAs. And so we thought about all the issues which are more media friendly that we could use, and we selected either specialized media or general media dedicated sections on wider issues, like, for instance, tourism or fisheries in general, and not only small-scale fisheries in the MPAs, and economy, or food and consumption. And these led us to a list of targeted media, which was very detailed, and we thought about these media for each country, because the project was working in 6 countries and 11 pilot sites. And for each topic and each type of media, we sat with the communicators of the project, and we thought, okay, what is it that we can really target, not only for national media, but also for international media and policy media, because we wanted to reach the policymakers as well, as I said before. It was very important. I think it's something that was said before by Regione Piemonte. It was very important to really take advantage of each partner capacity when it comes to media relations, and really be honest about the media contacts and the media relations experience that each partner has, and also the pilot sites, because the pilot sites were instrumental to work with media. Another key decision we made was to work not only at the national level, but really to internationalize the outreach and to bring media from Spain to Greece and media from Croatia to Italy. Another key factor for success, I think, in the project was to work carefully on the messaging and think about really what were the messages we wanted to convey to the media. Thinking about the key angles, the key words, and most importantly, we chose a storytelling approach. We decided to focus on the human angles of the project to avoid the difficulty to speak about too technical issues. And we thought that we had wonderful stories to tell about the fishers and the MPA managers. What is their life? What are their difficulties? What do they have to say to the world? And what they are trying to achieve together. This was really successful. Also, we thought that we wanted to tell a Mediterranean story to the world and not only a Croatian story to Croatia. Another key lesson was that it was really key to develop facts and figures about the project topics and really educate the media about the status of fish stocks with figures, maps, the status of local economies when it comes to fisheries, for the media really to understand well what we're talking about, but also to allow them to be able to speak with their chief editor and to say that this could be a story for an economy section or for a food consumption section. So to summarize, I think we decided to tell the story about this man and the MPA managers with who he's working. This man is Angelo, and he's a fisher in the Egadi Island in Sicily. What kind of tools did we use? We decided to focus because Fish MPA Blue 2 had a huge communication component, and we didn't want to put all our energy and budget into only media relations. And we focused on 3 international press trips attended by around 10 journalists and a huge photographic exhibition in a leading museum in Rome. So about tools, we prepared a media backgrounder, which was talking about what is at stake in the Mediterranean when it comes to small-scale fisheries, and how do they work with MPAs, and what are the policies actually in place. The press trips they had also to be well presented, so we had a profile for each pilot site, invitations, very attractive invitations, and very fascinating agendas, because it's not easy to get a journalist to travel and to come to a press trip nowadays. We prepared also a set of pictures and footage for media to use, especially when they were not able to come, or even when they were unable to come, but they couldn't come with a photographer. So we prepared that for them. Also, it was very important to get them to interview the right ambassadors. So we prepared before very good briefings for our best ambassadors, because the fishers, the MPA managers, they were not used to speak to media. So we prepared them a little bit. And finally, we prepared this final exhibition, which was composed of professional pictures with a photographer who won the WordPress photo. And so he was the best because he's a portraitist. And so he was a very good photographer for us to really feature the human stories of the project. We also produced video peels with the interviews of the fishers and the MPA managers, which were projected at the museum. And so this exhibition, we produced a press release, and media relations were very successful, and they allowed us to multiply the results we had already had with the press trips. So I think that if I want to give you a sort of a summary, I would like you to remember that you can be ambitious, even if the project is very technical and you think that media are not going to be interested. Don't forget that you can also focus only on specialized media, and don't forget that now media are able to also speak about many issues, but you have to think about how to make your issue media friendly, and you have maybe to widen the project contents to something more accessible for them. I think that the choice to focus on the human angle and to build the storytelling style for our media relations proved to be very effective. And also another thing which worked really well was to internationalize not only the issue, but also then the outreach, because we had media like Agence France Presse or Libération, Les Echos, the main national Croatian TV, El País, La Repubblica. So we had really the mainstream media of all the countries represented in the project, giving us high quality articles, not only, you know, a para on a website, but really a big page in the published edition. So this is the picture which was used by the Museo di Roma in Trastevere, which is one of the best photographic museum in Italy, to feature our exhibition. And I think it's the proof that we were able to really make of a technical issue like small-scale fisheries in marine protected areas, issue, and to reach even the general public, not to reach the general public, but to influence the policymakers beyond.
Thank you very much, Anne. It was really, really interesting also your presentation. Again, it strikes me the organization of the entire plan and the implementation of the plan on the ground, which is extremely interesting. I found a more extremely interesting the idea of briefing your ambassadors for having a media briefing before they get to participate in the activity. I had two questions just before going into open the Q&A and close the session. I was puzzled with one of your expressions, which was the policy media. What is the policy media? This is my first question. And then on the press trips, how did you get the journalists coming from different countries? Did you pay for their trips, or just invite them and they were interested and they came in? Thank you.
Okay, so the policy media I'm talking about are the media which are read by policymakers, the media which are influencers. So you have the Brussels-based media, but you have also media like Financial Times, or you have Le Monde for France, or it really depends on the countries. But I consider policy media as the one who are going to influence your policies and your policymakers. Second question, so it really depends, because when we had a very important media like La Repubblica, I mean, they didn't ask any help for the travel or even the hotel. When you are talking about a small media like, I don't know, Le Marin for France, then we helped them. It was really a tailor-made approach. And to attract them, I think that when I began to work in communications a long time ago, press trips were more common, and journalists now are so busy, and in redactions the capacity is always reduced, and so it's very stressful and difficult for them to come to a press trip. So you have to be very inspiring. At the same time, because they really don't go often, you offer them a beautiful gift because they want to go in the field, and there is nothing more effective for a journalist to really meet the people and see what's happening in the field, because poor journalists, they are like us now, they are all in front of a computer all day, and even before the COVID, it was like that. So the journalist, you know, when you call AFP in Paris and you speak about a story happening in the heart of Sicily or in Zakynthos Island in Greece, they want to come. But then you have to convince their chief. And I think the best way to convince their chief is good content.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Would you, Olivier, like to comment all the free presentations there? Are there any takeaways that you would like to highlight?
Okay, thank you, Paolo. Yes, I agree with Anne. You can be as sexy as you want. If you don't have any contents, that's not useful. So it means, in other words, that really you should think ahead. And that's, I was quite interested in listening to your presentation, Anne, Konstantinos, and Barbara, because in other words, if we try to summarize, I mean, these presentations were very different one from the other. But if we summarize, it means that we have to think collectively, thinking in terms of collective intelligence, participatory meetings in which people can have some clever inputs, discussing, debating, disagreeing as well. Second thing is you've got to be organized. You've got to have a media plan. You have to have a strategy. You have to really think ahead. I remember when we were at Amnesty International, I broached on the subject when I did my presentation. We would develop a strategy over 2 to 3 years. So it meant that we would know month after month what we were doing, what sort of reports we were put out, what sort of press releases, etc., etc. And of course, we had to adapt, because this is the role of a press attaché or a spokesperson, is to adapt himself or herself to the current situation. And the third point I wanted to say, and it has escaped me, so this is old age. La vieillesse est un naufrage, said the General de Gaulle. It means, in other words, you have to do a press release. Oh yeah, press releases. A press release is not a ready-to-use article. It is a help, as a press kit is, for journalists to write an article. A journalist writing a piece on any subject will have to have many sources, not one source, but many sources. And the source of Interreg Med is one source. And we would need to have also several sources if we want to be credible. Never a good journalist will use a press release as it is. It cannot be that way. It's wrong in that it works in countries where the authorities or the public authorities impose on journalists what to write and how to write. But otherwise, any good journalist will refuse to use extensively the press release. He or she will use part of the press release. And last but not least, I think pictures, videos, things that can, I think Barbara, no, I think it's Anne who said human stories. Storytelling is very much used nowadays to engage the public, because we relate to one individual and we do not relate to the mass. We are human beings, and it's easier for us to relate to one particular story rather than to the whole abstract story. So thank you very much for your presentation. That was very interesting, the three of you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, there is a question.
Yes.
What is your advice concerning the use of major news agency versus individual journalist press? Okay. Well, news agencies are very useful because one news agency can cover the whole media as you may have in your database. So with one strike, you hit everyone, which is quite interesting. But news agencies are very strict on the facts, who, what, where, when, how, why. And they will check and double check any story that comes their way. You will see in the longer PowerPoint, I have developed a couple of slides on the role of news agencies. It's quite interesting, but you have to be careful because they might not use your piece. They receive millions of words every day, and they have to select the words they want to choose, they want to publish. But it is very efficient if you can manage to use the stringer in your area of Reuters, Agence France Presse, United Press International, Associated Press, etc., which are the four major international news agencies. And they have stringers in many countries so that you can approach them and suggest them a subject. But once again, in media relations, building a trustworthy and a newsworthy relation is essential to a long-term relationship between yourself, your organization, and the media at large.
I just would like to add to what Olivier just said, that we managed to get Agence France Presse to one of our press trip, and we, with only one article of Agence France Presse, we reached all the French media. It was amazing. So it's really powerful, and it's very effective because so I spent a lot of time speaking with him, with the journalists, to make sure that he comes, to make sure that he really prepares the press trip. I gave him a lot of material, but really I don't regret it because we got all the French media in one shot.
No, that's great. That's great. Bravo.
Thank you very much. Are there any more questions for our speakers? There is one. How would you recommend monitoring the effectiveness of our media relations?
Okay, in the longer version of the PowerPoint, there are some indicators to build up, to evaluate, to assess the effectiveness of your media relations. A press review is the minimum. You should do a press review after one event, see how many articles you had, how many journalists came to your press conference, for example, and also so you can add the quantity, if you prefer, and then you have the quality, what sort of topics journalists are interested. You can monitor the press, but you can also monitor the calls you receive in your office. How many journalists call you every day? What topics they are interested in, etc., etc. So there are several indicators you can think of and to adapt to your strategy, but they are very important for to be able to carry on a media plan. Also, if you use social media, there are on Facebook, there are many tools to assess the numbers of hits you had on your on Facebook or on the website. So that can be very useful. Mainly there are quantitative tools, but you can find qualitative also tools.
I would just, before going into the next question, I would just like to add to what Olivier just said. There are tools that monitor media, the media, and following, for example, by keywords and things, and they even deliver you a kind of quality of the image that you have on the press. So I'm just going to post just one link. This is a paid technology, so I don't endorse the publicity. It's just the one I know. But you can search other tools, of course. So please have a look on this tool. But it is, of course, a paid service.
Okay, I would like to answer to Alessandra, who says that you say storytelling is useful to engage the public and the media. So it is good for journalists to use storytelling. Can we, as press officers, use storytelling in our press releases? Or would it mean to step away from what Olivier recommended before, stick to fact? Well, let me give you an example. Amnesty International is a legal organization. It's based on legal documents, but Amnesty International rarely publishes legal press release or press release based on legal arguments. I mean, the majority of press releases are storytelling. They tell the story of one human being being tortured, being kidnapped, or whatever. So this is the storytelling, and it's a fact. So a storytelling can be a fact. Someone was speaking about a farmer, well, or a fisher. I can't remember exactly. So a fisher. So a fisher is a fact. You know, he's telling his story. This is factual. Okay, what I meant by fact compared to opinion is that you, as a press officer, giving up or giving your opinion about something, which is not the role of a press officer. This is the nuance, if you prefer.
There is another question from Sonsolis that says some journalists require exclusivity in their articles. How do we deal with this aspect, not to disappoint your other media relations?
An exclusivity lasts for about 2 seconds. As soon as it is published, it's no more exclusive because every media will take it again. So you can develop an exclusive relationship with a journalist, but then the other media will catch up on the story very soon. So I don't think this is a real solution, that question relates to another issue. If you issue a press release with an embargo date, know that if you publish it, it's public and the embargo date might not be followed. So be very careful about that. Exclusivity and embargoes.
I think there's another question. How would you approach establishing long-term media partnership with a specific media outlet that you have an affinity with? For example, a trade journal in your area.
It is a good approach, but it's I mean, you know, with what I've said just previously, it's very dangerous to only focus on one specific media. Nevertheless, you can have some affinities, which is quite normal. And a trade journal is a specialized outlet. So therefore, it is possible. But in the end, if other media realize that you are only giving news to a trade journal, they might not contact you again to benefit from your expertise, which is also a bit tricky.
Olivier has been answering the questions, but I invite all the other three speakers to give their experience as well. No one wants to join?
About long-term partnerships?
Yes, for example.
Well, I think it's maybe difficult when it comes to a 3 years project. I would rather consider this as a good tool for the communication of your organization. So I've been working, for instance, when I was working for the CNRS, which is the French Research National Center, we worked a lot on long-term partnerships, but it was really because we wanted to put science into the media landscape, and I think you need some years to do that. I mean, when it comes to a short project, I don't think it's going to be worth it.
Okay.
I think that this maybe if some partners have existing communication channels and cooperations, in this way it's the only way to use them as long-term or medium-term media partners. So I agree that within the duration of the project is probably not possible, but we have some partners that have already working with the media. So the existing channels, communication channels were used also to promote specific product. So for them, maybe using some medium-term or long-term partners for media could be was the case.
And if I could add something, if you give out reliable pieces of information, if you entertain informative relationship with the media, they will be faithful because they need you, I think, as you need them.
Thank you very much, Olivier, and thank you everyone, because it's already 1 o'clock.